Day 2, getting out to my offshore spot, and that might be that shiner guide coming. That's why I'm kicking it in high gear, even though if he gets there, we'll probably just both fish it again. But yeah, I just want to kind of be in the spot so that if a boat comes around, because this is a popular area, I want to make sure they know I'm fishing. And so I just want to be present, even though I can't cast for a little while. Had a good day yesterday. Had almost 90 inches, sitting in 10th place out of 155. And I want to catch a bigger bag today. I think it's possible. I think I learned a little bit yesterday. It's just going to come down to what the fish do.
So I'm starting off day 2 on the same spot that I started day 1 at. I don't have any company this time, and I was hoping that the fish would bite a little better than they did the day before.
Not a bad one, not a good one. Fish number 1, 14 1/4.
So I'm pretty much sticking to the same program as I was on day 1, just staying in that deep hydrilla and pitching around a Texas rig. I had learned that all the experimenting I had done the day before wasn't really worthwhile, and I needed to really just commit to fishing in this area and slowing down. So just like on day 1, day 2 was starting pretty slow. I was getting a couple small bites and just kind of meandering around in this grass. This day I committed a little more just to looking with my forward sonar instead of casting at every single clump that I saw, but I still did a little bit of both.
I hope that's not what it takes today. Here we go, fish number 3. It might be 15.
So I moved into the shallower area. You can see that it's 10 feet deep there. It's really not shallow, but it's 2 feet, 3 feet different than where I have been primarily. And there were more fish up here, but they were smaller. Things were so slow that I decided to move around and see if there was something a little different up here in this slightly different zone than where I had been fishing. So this next clip is super weird. I've never had this happen to me on the water before. Just pay attention to where my line enters the water in this next clip.
Oh, what the hell?
There were gar everywhere, and I thought that a small one had come up and bit my line where it was on the surface, and then I could feel it moving around in his teeth.
Oh, what? What the heck? There was a gar biting my line on the surface when that happened, and so I thought that's what that fish was. was interesting. We'll take that. That was the biggest one of the day. He's not big, but we will take that for sure. Man, y'all are some bleeding son of a guns. Okay, fish number 4, 15 and a half. I really shouldn't even measure this fish.
So that dreaded spinning rod is back out. The day before I hadn't caught any on it, or at least I definitely didn't catch any that mattered on it, but I knew that with these fish being kind of funny, I remember I'd maybe seen a couple fish on my forward sonar refuse what I had offered to them, being that stick bait, and I just felt with the calmer day that it was probably a good idea for me to continue trying this. Pink worm, pressured fish, it's always a good thing.
Come on, eat it.
So right now I'm looking at one on forward sonar. It looks like a pretty big one. It's on the front side of a grass clump. And what I end up doing is pitching it back in there and just pretty much dead sticking it. Even though it may look like I'm working the bait a lot, I'm actually drifting towards it. So I'm almost letting the bait sit perfectly still.
Wow, these fish fight hard. I don't think he's that big. He must be big. Okay, he's in the grass. I didn't think he was that big. He's big. Nice. Let's go. There we go. I let that drop shot sit there for so long. That is a good thing to know. I wish I had more worms this color. Yeah, buddy. If there's one thing I know, it's that big bass and spinning rods with me go together. Fish number 5 is 20 and a half inches on the drop shot.
So that big fish came from a very similar area to my second big fish on day one. And so I decided to really slow down in this area and just pitch the drop shot around, look for any sort of irregularity in the grass, any fish. And what I'm coming up on right here, you can actually see on my forward sonar, you can see that big clump of grass. I can see a group of fish on the back side of that. So I'm trying to stay far away from them because it's calm and the fish have been skittish. I'm trying to make a long cast over that clump of grass and drop my drop shot in on the back side.
Oh my gosh, more with it. And drop 3 waypoints on top of each other so I know where it's at. Yeah, there was an even bigger one chasing it. That's another good one. Definitely not as good, but a big one for show on the little pink worm. Classic story. That's all you can catch fish on anymore. They've gotten too smart. Yeah, can you get this guy measured up? He's probably 18-ish, maybe, hopefully bigger. Not sure if he saw it or not.
I was looking at a pretty nice one on forward sonar when that fish bit, but it just goes to show the bite was definitely not good if I'm having to let it sit there for that long for that small fish to eat it. I'm not really sure what that means, but I do know that generally with a drop shot, all you have to do is pitch it out there and they're going to hit it almost as soon as it hits the bottom if they don't get it before it hits the bottom, and it was taking a lot longer than that on this day to get bit.
Come on, fish, eat it. Not big enough. seeing is the...
I'm not sure if I was seeing small fish and they looked like big fish on forward sonar, but I think there's a good chance there were big ones sitting with these fish and they were just not feeding. And so the little ones were even comfortable enough to come right beside them and eat the bait.
So what I'm doing here, I'm out in the middle of the lake and I have no reference points at all. So you see my waypoint, that's where I just caught that fish. So I've set my distance and I'm gonna measure until I get close enough to then cut this off and switch back to the forward sonar.
So with a GPS, doesn't matter what brand, you can set to measure the distance that you are from a waypoint. It's a really good way to know how far you are and when you are approaching a waypoint when you're in the middle of nowhere with 0 reference points.
Shout out to Hunter Sales for showing me that. You would think I would know how to do that, but I'm not very electronics inclined.
So as you saw, I continued to catch fish, continued to catch keeper fish, but they just were not of much size. I did have a shell bar marked that I had side scanned at some point, and so I wanted to go give that a shot and give my area a rest because I had that one big one chase in a fish that I had hooked. So usually when that happens, you can go back to where that has happened and catch a big one. Normally when that's happening, it's a good spot and there's going to be more big ones when you go back. Caught that fish pretty quickly when I pulled up to that shell bar, but that was the only bite I had, and I headed back out to the deep hydrilla to keep sticking it out.
First time that's happened. I've made a lot of random casts. He might help. Not by much if he does. Half an inch. Half an inch upgrade, gonna be trading a 14 3/4 for a 15 1/4, I believe. Should be an upgrade, not by much. If it is an upgrade. We got 6 minutes left. Nope, 15 and a half. Same size.
Yeah, so if you're watching this, you're probably wondering, why did you throw back that fish? It helped you. Well, I didn't realize that at the time. I was running out of time, and my mind was really focused on getting a big one, I guess, because that was, in my mind, what mattered a lot more than a 1/4 inch. I will know to pay a little better attention in the future. I never would have caught this if I wouldn't have filmed, so that's a good plus to this. But yeah, so I ended up getting 11th place, and I would have tied with 10th if I had that extra 1/4 inch. I think I would have won the tiebreaker, but I'm not sure how they do it. Not the end of the world, probably a couple $100. Good learning experience, and I'll do better next time.
That is all she wrote for the Harris Chain Hobie BOS first event of the year. I'm not very good at grass fishing, and it went okay. Wish I could have got a couple more of those big ones today. I'm not really sure. That's kind of perplexing that I got those 2 yesterday and spent my whole time pretty much trying to do what I did to get those, stayed in the same area, and caught 2 big ones in probably a 30-minute window. And then the rest of the day I just kept doing laps and caught small ones. I don't know, interesting. But thankful for the 4 good bites I had, because in Florida, that's what makes the difference at the end of the day. And if you only catch little ones, it's a lot of time I don't even think you did anything wrong. Florida is just weird. But thankful to have had a decent tournament. I think we'll hopefully get in the top 10. I think there's a pretty good shot. I think I was in 6th maybe when they shut the leaderboard off. So gonna get all my stuff packed up and headed on in.
I think I only caught fish on 2 different setups in this tournament. So right here is my Texas rig rod, just a 7.2 worm and jig rod. That is the Abu Garcia Pro Series, new series this year, and that's the Josh Bertrand. I want to say it's called a worm and jig rod, but 7.2 medium heavy fast is what I believe that one is. Really liked it. Pretty impressed with that Pro Series. Probably something I'm going to look into and try to get a couple more of them. The reel is a 8.1-to-1, I believe, Abu Garcia Xenon. That is way outside of my price range. Abu Garcia was nice enough to give me a couple of those to try this year. They are phenomenal. Not something I would normally use because of the price tag, but they are crazy, crazy nice. They are such a joy to fish with. They kind of ruin all of my other setups for me. Anybody that has used a really, really nice setup before knows that that's kind of what happens, but they are phenomenal, and I was fishing that on 17-pound trilene fluorocarbon also. And then here we have the dreaded spinning rod, but with the way bass fishing is going, these spinning rods are becoming more and more important if you are a tournament angler. Fish are getting smarter, and finesse fishing is just becoming a more regular part of tournament bass fishing and bass fishing in general. This is a 7-foot medium fast Abu Garcia Veritas PLX. You've seen me catch a pile of fish on this rod. It is a really good all-around rod. I've caught so many fish on them. Can do a whole lot with it. Drop shot, shaky head, wacky rig, swim bait, fluke. The list goes on. And that is a 30 size Abu Garcia Zeta. Got that spooled up with 10-pound Berkeley X9 braid, and I believe I was using a 10-pound trilene fluorocarbon leader. That's it for the Hobie BOS on the Harris chain. Like I said, I finished in 11th place. Good tournament for me. I think I got $950. Definitely paid for my tournament. Made a little bit of money on top of that. Here's a giant one I caught in practice. It was 9 pounds, 14 ounces, 25 inches long. I don't film in practice just because I feel like practice is not nearly as interesting as a tournament. I know me personally, the people that I like to watch on YouTube, I don't really like watching practice videos because I want to see when you are actually trying to catch these fish and really bearing down on them. Next event is the Hobie BOS on Caddo Lake. I'm getting ready to head that way now as I edit this video, so hopefully we can get into them again like we did back in November. Stay tuned. Got more tournament stuff coming on the pipe.